Hey guys, I've got a deck profile for you. I'm showing off my Evil Eye deck. Let's start with the main deck. So first I start off with 3 Sergio Watcher of the Evil Eye. If you know anything about Evil Eyes, you know this is the most important card of the deck. You basically need Sergio to go off to search out your equip spell, because equip spell makes the deck work. If you can't make this summon happen, you're in big trouble. But I also include other ways in the decks to get around certain negations that might occur. Now the rest of the monsters don't matter nearly as much, but here is Medusa, Watcher of the Evil Eye. She's a recycler. While Sergio will get a card from the deck, Medusa can get it out the grave. So it's pretty useful to have 1 or 2 copies in it if you're playing a pure Evil Eye deck. Basilius and Catolopus are the familiars of the Evil Eye. Each one has a different effect. Basilius is more useful because it can special summon itself as long as you have an Evil Eye monster on the field. He can come out the graveyard if you have one on the field as well. Not quite as useful, but it can also protect your equip spell while it's on the field. This one can actually send a Evil Eye spell or trap from deck to graveyard. There's actually a lot of different ways you can use these effects to help your turn along. This one's better early game, this one's better late game. 3 Ash Blossoms as my hand trap of choice, but they can really be switched out for any hand traps depending on what your meta is looking like. Now we're going to look at spells. So most important spell in the deck, 2 copies of Evil Eye of Selene. I only want to add 2 because it's very highly searchable in the deck. And you don't really need to be running 3. It's a very powerful card. When you equip it to your Sergio, it makes your Sergio basically invincible. It can't be targeted or easily destroyed. Basically, your opponent's going to try to target this card to weaken your Sergio and your deck strategy all together. But also, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish another Evil Eye spell or trap in the graveyard, and for 1,000 life points, you can set this right back to the field. So once you've seen it, unless they banish it, it's gonna keep coming back and being a nuisance for your opponent. But you gotta be careful with this card, because the cost of boosting up your Sergio is that you're going to pay 500 life points every time you give your Sergio 500 attack points. So if you feel like you're starting to pay a bit too much and you have a mandatory cost coming your way, you might want to pop this yourself just to reset it later. You have to be careful with this card, and with this deck in general. Second most important spell in the deck is the field spell, Evil Eye Domain Pareidolia. You really want to see this card because it can search your Evil Eye monsters, aka your Sergio. And if you already have Sergio, you might want to search a second copy of Sergio. And if you're crazy, you might want to search a different Evil Eye monster for a quick combo that might lead to link plays. It's got other effects too. A battle phase effect will allow you to make your opponent lose their life points every time you would take life point damage as well. It's not a big deal. Also, when it's sent to the graveyard, it helps you recycle a bit, so it's not a bad card at all. I also play a single copy of Terraforming to make sure I see it, because on your first turn, you really want to be seeing cards like Terraforming, Pareidolia, and Sergio. And of course, your Evil Eye of Selene. Next up, Evil Eye Awakening. This is a pretty useful card for really getting your first turn started. If you're not planning on setting on just your Sergio and a lot of back row, then you're going to want to have Awakening in your hand so you can special summon a Basilius that will allow you to link summon and get Medusa out. If you have Gorgon. If you get the Gorgon link monster out, you're a bit in a more powerful position. And if you already have the Evil Eye of Selene on the field, they can special summon your monster straight from the deck. So it's pretty useful, though like with everything with Evil Eyes, you have to be careful how you use it. Because typically if you're going for the link play, you're going to be removing your Evil Eye of Selene from the field. So you have to make sure you have the resources to bring it back. But since you use this, you can actually banish this to get your Selene out the graveyard again. The Evil Eye of Gorgonio is one of their newer rounds of support. It's actually a sleeper good card, like you wouldn't have guessed. On the surface, it has a basic attack modifying effect that gives your monsters the attack that is a difference between your opponent's life points and yours, as long as your life points are lower. So it can make your monsters really big for a short while, because you'll probably even things out quickly when you deal life point damage next time. But the most important thing about Evil Eye of Gorgonio is that you can banish this card from your graveyard in order to search out any one Evil Eye spell or trap card. Why is that useful? Well, we talked about Basilius earlier. Basilius can send a Evil Eye Spoiler Trap card to the graveyard. If you get Basilius on the field, you can send this to the graveyard. That can help you fuel your Evil Eye Selene plays and maybe help you get around if your Cersei gets ashed or something. On that note, I also play Foolish Burial Goods as another way to send Gorgonio to the graveyard. I really don't want to open Gorgonio. Finally, I play some draw cards. Pile of Extravagance. The extra deck is not really important in this deck. You can afford to banish them, and your deck really would love the draws. They're always good because we run a lot of trap cards in this deck. We also run Pile of Duality for the same reason. Because Pile of Duality does not draw, you can play both these cards together in the same turn. Just be careful because you can't special summon the turn you use Pile of Duality. So if you're playing these cards, you're probably going to end up with a board with a single Cersei and a lot of back row a lot. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about my last spell cards. Call by the Graves to help you get around ashes and other things. They happen, they come up because they're going to, your deck is pretty easily outed. So you want to maybe see Call by the Grave to stop your hand traps. And that's it for my spells. So the trap lineup is the most important, and it's all things just to make your opponent's life a little bit worse. So I play a single copy of Evil Eye Retribution. It's a searchable negation card against spells and traps. Pretty useful. I wish it negated everything, but beggars can't be choosers. Once you do get to use it, it can probably save your Evil Eye of Selene from being popped by like a MST or something. That's pretty useful in this deck because your opponent's probably not going to have that many cards that can pop your back row. This can protect it. Other back row options, the incredibly powerful Crackdown. You can take your opponent's monster, pretty free. Disruptive. Lost Wind negates your opponent's monster effects. It can also slash attack points in half, and it's recyclable. It's a really good card, though some people would use Impermanence in its place. 3 Dynamiscus, very powerful disruption, removes a card from the field. It's a quick banish. Solemn Judgment, like to negate things, you know. Same reason that I play Dark Sacrifice, which is a bit more on theme of a negation card, because it'll also send a level 3 Fiend monster from deck to grave. Typically that's going to be Catoblepus, because once it's in the graveyard, it's live. So it's a pretty useful card in this deck. Alright, extra deck time. So I don't use most of it, but the most important monsters in it are my 3 Gorgons. A Link 2 monster, not too hard to summon, but sometimes you won't really get into it. Hopefully you will though, because it can quick effect negate monster effects. And it's a little bit more handy to have on field than Cersei, who will have to pop your own cards on each standby phase after using its popping effect. In this case, this one will only pop a card that it points to. The effect will go off, but if there's nothing it's pointing to, then it can't pop anything. So it's pretty safe to have on deck equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene. On the other hand, you have Zerziel, a lot more powerful monster that can get 2 attacks in per battle phase and can get pretty big once it has Evil Eye of Selene equipped. But being a Link 3 monster, it's not that easy to make in this deck, even though they keep getting support that makes it a little bit easier with each round. Still not the best monster ever, but it can help you push for game for sure. Now the rest of these cards really do not get played much, but I still play Wee Witch, Nightmare Phoenix for popping back row. Just some Link 4s. Unchained Abomination can come out. I haven't managed to use it yet, but it can come out the deck. And the rest are a bunch of Super Poly targets and Awakening Dragon target. And that is my Evil Eye deck.
So that would be like stuff in your side, right? Like you side Super Poly?
Yes. I side Super Poly and Awakening of Dragons. So that's why they're in the deck, but otherwise they're probably going to be banished, and I'm not worried about that.
All right, sounds good. If you guys like it, thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one, I guess.
Thanks, guys.